Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to solve some word problems or application problems related to quadratic equations. In the previous video, I discussed how to solve the quadratic equations using the factoring method or using the quadratic formula. And now it's time to do some application problems. Alright, so the first problem is find the length and width of a rectangular plate if the length is 8 inches more than the width and the area is 260 square inches. Alright, so we start by drawing our rectangle. Let's say L be the length and W be the width of the rectangular plate. So what we are given is that length is 8 inches more than width. So if you add 8 to width, you get the length. And area is 260 square inches. Length times width. So length times width is 260. Also, if we look here, we are given that L is W plus 8. So we can use this substitution in our area formula here and we can reduce it into one variable. So we will get equation in only one variable and we can solve for our dimensions. So since L is W plus 8, so W plus 8 times W equals to 260. And when we expand it, W times W is W square plus 8 times W is 8W equals to 260. And I can subtract 260 on both sides. So we end up getting a quadratic. And in order to solve for the width, we need to solve this quadratic equation. And we know that in order to solve this quadratic, we need to compare it with the standard form ax square plus bx plus c equals to 0. So in this case, instead of x, we have w as our variable, but that's okay. The coefficient of square term is, when we do the comparison, coefficient of square term is 1. Coefficient of linear term is 8 and the constant is negative 260. And we can use the quadratic formula. So W will be given by negative B plus minus square root of B square minus 4AC over 2, the whole thing divided by 2A. So now we're going to carefully plug in the values. So negative 8, in place of B we write 8. 8 square minus 4 times 1 times negative 260 divided by 2 times 1. So overall we get negative 8 plus minus 64 plus 1040 square root of that divided by 2. So when we try to solve it, so using the calculator, so one time you're going to use plus sign, another time you're going to use minus square root of 1104. So you get two values for W. So either W is 12.6 inches or W is negative 2.06 inches. And in the end, you need to decide which answer makes sense. Don't just blindly give both the answers. In this case, we are talking about width, which is a dimension. So dimensions cannot be negative. So we have to discard this solution. So we have to reject this one. So dimensions cannot be negative. So it means our width should be 12.6 inches. Since length is W plus 8, so it should be 12.6 plus 8, which means 20.6 inches. Thus, our solution is the length of the rectangle is 20.6 inches and Width of the rectangle is 12.6 inches. So this is our solution. So read the next problem carefully. A farmer normally plants a field 80 by 120 meters. So we have 80 meter by 120 meters. This year, the government requires the planting area to be decreased by 20%. So if the planting area is decreased by 20% and he decides to do it by decreasing the length and width by an equal amount, so it means if he reduces the length by x and the width by x. Find the length and width of the new field. Okay, so now if we think about the new field looks something like this. Okay, let's say this is our new field. So the dimensions of the new field would be 80 minus x, because we have reduced the width by x and we reduced the length by x, so it will be 120 minus x. So we need to figure out the length and width of the new field. All right, so if we talk about the areas, so area of the old field in this case is 120 times 80, which is 9,600 square meter. And if we talk about the area of the new field, so I'll call it area new, so that would be 100. So this said that it is reduced by 20%. So new area will be reduced by 20% of the old area. So it would be 80% of old area. Does that make sense? Because we are given that the area is decreased by the planting area, the new planting area is decreased by 20%. So it means what we are doing is we are doing 1 minus 20% of 9,600. So it's 80% of 9,600. So overall we get the new planting area is 7,680 square meters. And also if we think about area, we know that area of the field is also given by length times width, and this quantity is 7,680, and this is equals to 120 minus x times 80 minus x, and we can expand it using the foiling. So take the first term of first bracket, multiply it with 80, so we get 9,600 minus 120x minus 80x plus x squared. And when we do the rearrangement, we can subtract 7,680 on both sides. So subtracting 7,680 on both sides, we get 0 equals 2. So 9,600 minus 7,680, that's 1920. And also we have negative 120 and negative 80, so negative 200x plus x squared. So we got this quadratic x squared minus 200x plus 1920 equals to 0. So this is our quadratic equation and we want to solve it for x. What is the value of x? So when we compare it with our general form, so if you compare it with ax squared bx plus c equals to 0 form, so in this case our a is 1, B is negative 200, C is 1920. And we use the quadratic formula x should be negative b plus minus square root of b square minus 4ac over 2a. So plug in the values of a, b, c. So we get negative of negative 200 plus minus negative 200 square minus 4ac divided by 2 times 1. So when we solve it, by solving it, we get x is either 190 meters or x is 10.1 meter. And as I said, we should always think which answers make sense, whether both answers make sense or only one of them makes sense or none of them make sense. So since we said that our original dimensions were 120 and 80, so if we are trying to take out x should be smaller than both of them. So in this case, we cannot have x equals to 190. So we're gonna reject the solution because this is too big. Thus, it means we should, the farmer reduces x meters from length and width. So the dimensions of the new field are the length is 180, 120 minus x. So it should be 120 minus 10.1. So that is 109.9 meters. And the width should be 80 minus x. So 80 minus 10.1, which means 69.9 meters. So these are our solutions. So whenever we do a word problem around quadratic equation, so first step is you try to create the equation, and if you have two pieces of information, you try to combine them so that you can get a quadratic equation. Everything in terms of one variable. Once you have your quadratic equation, you solve it to get your answer. I hope that makes sense, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.